You're listening to the Awkward High Five podcast. You can follow along in your book. You'll know it's time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this.
Excuse me. Thus is truly a sublime metamorphosis of the Lane Mile I think the crowds were expecting to see here at Brody Mountain today. Perhaps you can tell us what brought on such an enchanting, exhilarating feat.
Language lessons.
Language lessons. Inspired words from a man who knows how to ski.
All right, here we are. Episode 9, I believe now.
Yeah, we're up there.
We're getting ready to launch this bitch. Clean this pig up, bring it to the fair, let the horse out of the barn.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Which brings me to a question, Richard. Ready?
I'm ready.
If you were to compare this podcast to any single person, alive or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would it be? If this podcast was personified,
I'm gonna have to give it to Rowdy Piper.
Okay, I didn't see that one coming. Why is that?
Because he was I would call Rowdy a free spirit that didn't give a fuck about anything. What anybody had to say about him. But he was entertaining, and you understood his character, and a lot of people would enjoy Rowdy's character. But he stayed rowdy. And he would enjoy the drink every once in a while.
True.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We do enjoy a drink as a podcast.
Yeah.
That was obviously a set of questions because I have my own answer. But
okay.
I think if we were going to compare this podcast to any person, live or dead, fictional or non-fictional, it would obviously have to be world-renowned serial killer Jason Voorhees. And this is why. This is why. Just a few months ago, me and you were just young children, naked, decomposing at the bottom of a lake, right? Just down there, pretty much dead, not doing much. And then we had an idea. That idea was maybe we should somehow get out of this lake and do something with ourselves, like go kill teenagers. You know what I mean? So about a few months ago, we rose from the lake, and our goal was to kill teenagers. And kill teenagers we did. And but we were killing teenagers great and everything was going great. All the camp counselors were getting murdered and life was good. But we didn't really know what was going on with us, so we were just wearing like a sack over our head. You know what I mean?
Only one eye hole cut out.
Yeah, just one eye hole. We knew we had to conceal
kitchen gloves.
We had to conceal our identity, but we really didn't have the identity yet. You know what I mean? So for the last 8 episodes, we've pretty much been murdering with a sack over our head. Now today is when we really become Jason Voorhees.
We found the mask.
When we murder that stupid bitch with the hockey mask and take the hockey mask and put it on her face. And the reason why is I'm proud to present and say that we here at our podcast finally have a name.
Yes, we do. And I'm very excited about it.
Finally, after all this time of bitching about a name, we have one.
And as soon as you texted to me, I knew it was Grand Slam. I knew it. Didn't even have to think about it. I saw the words, and I was like, man, that describes it all right there, baby.
So let me be the first to say, welcome to the Awkward High Five podcast with Devin and Ritchie.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Or should it be Ritchie and Devin?
I like Devin and Ritchie.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Ritchie and Devin flows a little bit better. But
really? Well, to me, it's always been Devin and Ritchie, so.
First billing? I get first billing in life?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You can have it.
Okay.
Because it makes way more sense. Like,
okay.
It fits the podcast better.
So,
I think so.
Okay. Fair enough. So, welcome to the Awkward High Five podcast with Devin and Ritchie. Now, here's we've been asking people names, and we've both been trying to think of names, and and trying to like really wrap our head around it and say like, well, you know, we need something that kind of describes what the podcast is about and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And this I'm gonna have to give a special thank you shout out to our friend Dave, who I was hanging out with last Friday night, and me and him were playing a game that you do play at beer drinking parties, and me and him were on the same team, and we were doing good. And we went
Spirits were high,
and we went to give each other a high five, and it was a very, very mangled situation. And I told him earlier, I told everybody earlier that I was looking for a name because they were asking me how the podcast was going, when they're going to be able to hear it and stuff. And he was like, "That's an awkward high five," and he's like, "Oh, that's a great name for a podcast." And at first I was like, "Yeah, I guess that's a good name for a podcast." And then I was like, "Holy shit, that is actually a really good name for a podcast."
It is.
Yeah. So, and I think it makes sense because it's at the basics of things. This podcast is supposed to be about two friends trying to get back together, kind of dealing with their problems a little bit. I know we haven't really touched on that in the past few episodes, but that's basically what this is about. It's supposed to be about. And the awkward high five, I think, is a catchy name, but also it kind of makes sense, as in like that thing where like when you see somebody after a while and you don't know if you should like high five or like give the stupid bro hug, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, and it even brought up an old story that, you know, I think actually fits that title.
Oh yeah,
what's that? It made me excited to tell you about it, whether you remember it or not. It always sticks in my mind.
Is it a story from back in the day?
Oh, it's way back in the day.
Okay,
but you know, it was almost, you know, the moment where I realized that like we could do anything together. You know?
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it was real nice.
You didn't look into my eyes and Dreamweaver started playing.
Maybe we did. I don't know, but I know we went out for Italian ices afterwards because it was field day.
So wait, set this up. What year was it?
Oh, geez. I want to say it was either the late 80s or early 90s, because we were either in 5th, 4th, or 3rd grade. I want to say we were in 5th grade, so let's go with 1990.
Okay. So the year was 1990. Mm-hmm. A bunch of 10-year-old Devin Ritchies.
Two chubby kids with mullets.
I was a chubby kid. You weren't a chubby kid.
Oh, dude, I was a little chubby, man.
Right.
I used to have bologna sandwiches and chocolate milk for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, man.
Okay.
We kept that bologna on high.
I remember, I don't mean to cut in with the story, but I remember one time. Okay, that's enough with the dream harp. I remember one time, I was always a chubby kid growing up, and I went with you and your mom to J&M Apparel because you were trying on like clothes, like new clothes for school. And we were like, we were probably like the same age, maybe like 11 or 12 or whatever. And I remember
I was probably a little chubby at the moment.
No, but I remember that. I remember I was trying on like clothes and you were trying on clothes, and like I walked out with a pair of jeans on, and the sales lady was like, yeah, those look good. And then you walked out with a pair of jeans on, and she was like, yeah. She was like, you have that type of body where anything looks good. And I remember this at like 12 years old, and me being like, God damn it.
Really? How old is this woman?
I'm going to guess 57. I have no idea.
Yeah?
No.
Damn, I should have hit that.
You should have at 12. All right, so sorry. Go ahead and tell the story.
I must have been trying on some Cavariccis or Bojos at that time.
Oh, they were definitely Cavariccis.
Definitely
or Bojos.
Cavariccis?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if there was definitely a double belt involved.
Yeah, probably.
And a pinch cuff.
And I got to give love out to my mom, you know, rest in peace for that one, because we were incredibly poor. But I wanted those Cavariccis so bad that I think she took out a second mortgage on our house just to give me a pair of Cavariccis so I could pinch cuff them.
Why I don't kids from the 90s, I guess late 80s, early 90s at our age.
So awkward.
If you miss this, if you're older or younger, there was a specific pocket where these what are they, Italian, I guess, these Italian designer
Cavaricci
pants just became popular out of nowhere. I don't know who started wearing them. I don't know if it was fucking AC Slater from Saved by the Bell or something like that.
Yeah, he was more of a Bojo guy.
Whatever it was.
But I think it came from like the Vanilla Ice generation, you know?
I never saw Vanilla Ice rockin' Z Cavariccis.
He probably had.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess.
He always had that look, though.
And it only lasted for like 3 months.
Yeah,
you know, and then it was like gone. But everyone had their like,
and they were like $150.
And everyone had their fucking pinch cuffs. Whoever Z Cavaricci was probably the happiest man on the like. He was like probably just looking at his like sales one day, like, what the fuck, like this area in New Jersey. I don't even know if it was around the world or anything.
That's definitely an East Coast thing, you know, because I would say West Coast was more Zubaz and like
because of the wrestlers.
Yeah, they would dress.
That's more Florida, I think.
They would dress looking like Macho Man. You know, that was like the look probably.
But then skids came in and totally
well,
fucking.
skids were awesome.
I would still rock skids if I could find. They were comfy as hell, at least as a pajama pant. A nice comfy pajama pant.
Those are real comfy. I used to love skids. That whole era of time was just such awkward clothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, awkward kids with awkward clothing.
It's funny because right now in the very present day, those looks are coming back.
See Cavaricci?
Not Cavaricci's, but the look of pant. Like I've seen kids wearing they sag their pants, but they're really tight pants, and it's big and poofy up top. Then it goes down to schmedium, and then right around the ankles are really tight, and like they let the ankles show. Then they have some type of slip on, or maybe high tops that are really awkward looking.
Yeah, the high tops and the I always thought that my favorite thing is this was before the skinny jeans phase, but metal kids, right? So like metal kids would always wear tight jeans, whether like leather pants or black pants, like always
white high tops.
Metal kids who wear all black and then they're wearing the Seinfeld white high tops. I always found that to be the funniest.
Yeah, and it's usually like an all white high top with a red Nike swoosh. Oh, that's like it's like the Andrew WK look, you know?
I guess.
I don't know, but it looks like it's definitely making a comeback in a certain way. Like it's not totally early 90s, but the pants are looking like it, the shoes are looking like it, and the snapback hats are coming back.
Yeah, well, they've been back for a while, and the flannels have been back for a while.
Yeah.
I was rocking flannels for a while.
I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah, I gave it up once everything started coming back. Like I wasn't trying to be cool. I was just wearing flannels because I was still stuck in the 90s, and then all of a sudden everyone started wearing flannels. I was like, God damn it! I still like the way they look. I don't really wear them.
Yeah, I love the way they look.
All right, so tell your story.
So my story would be, I'm sure everyone that's been through elementary school remembers field day, where you do the egg on the spoon. You do what else you do in field day? The egg on the spoon. You do the sack race.
You bounce on those fucking
hippity hops.
The hippity hops.
Yeah, you do a bunch of weird races and games where the same kids would always get first, second, and third. The fast kids that ran ridiculously fast, and they were always in competition. So of course,
I mean the sports kids, the jockey kids.
Yeah. So of course, one of the events would be the three-legged race. So when you sign up for the events, you're in classroom and everybody, we're this team, we're that team. So the three-legged race came up, and me and Dev look at each other like, let's do the three-legged race. We're probably going to fall. We're probably going to make fools of ourselves, and the jocks are going to fly through the race. But let's do the three-legged race. So we set up for the three-legged race. All the biggest jocks are team members. They're getting strapped up, talking shit to each other. Like, I'm three-legged racing, you out, baby. So we're just sitting there laughing our asses off because, you combine me and Dev, you get one athletic bone. You know what I mean?
It's true.
So the race starts, and we fucking blow everybody out of the water. We must have won that race by 2 field lengths. They must have just stepped off the starting line, and we flew through the field and got first place in the three-legged race. And these kids were crying. They were talking so much shit. They thought they were gonna leave us in the dust, but we were in total rhythmic sync, blew everybody out the water, and got first place in three-legged race. And I think that says a lot. Because it's not just a foot race. It's not just an egg on a spoon. It's 2 people tied together.
Actually making one leg become one.
Yeah, so you have 3 legs total. And it just defines the rhythmic, ability of us each. And the combination being that we could 3-legged race with each other, not make any plans or any, team strategy on how we're going to do this.
We didn't draw any plans or anything. I'm having a hard time remembering this. I remember it, but
1, 2, 3. That was the signal to me saying, "Damn, we got a lot of connection here that we could pretty much do anything." Because if 2 unathletic boobs with mullets and all we did was listen to music, play video games, and didn't give a shit about sports, can step up to the line at the three-legged race and blow away the biggest jocks in our school by field lengths, I think that says a lot about the chemistry and the camaraderie about 2 men tying their legs together.
Well, 2 10-year-olds at that time.
Right.
That some weird gym teacher man probably tied our legs together and enjoyed it or something.
We didn't even say which leg we were starting with. It was just like the whistle blew and we were out.
We just did it.
And we crushed them.
Just destroyed. I picture us like flopping through the finish line like the tape, like arms in the air, all slow-mo style. I wish that happened. I also was picturing us planning beforehand, like Napoleon style, with like a map and like a pointer and stuff, but I guess we didn't do that.
Operation Water Slide.
So from 1990, the three-legged race, to right now, October 21st. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about. Remind me of that. 2015. We're winning. We won three-legged races. Now we won the naming our podcast, and so we are now the Awkward High Five. And I also so from now on, I was waiting to do this until we had a name. Now we have a phone number you could call. It's not a live show, obviously. We tape it, but the phone number. You could call in at any time and leave a message if it's something you want to talk about, if you want to harass us or tell us how much you don't like us, or anything you want to do. If you just want to just talk for a little bit, you could call this phone number. So it's 607-319-A-HIGH-5. So AHI5. Or 607-319-2445, and I'll repeat that a million times each episode so everyone could get it. And we also now have an email address. It's the awkward high five podcast at gmail.com. There's no the there, just awkward high five podcast at gmail.com. And same thing there. You could email us whatever the hell you want to do. If you want to email us and ask questions, if you have a topic you want us to talk about, if you know us and you remember shit or whatever it is, just email us. And
when we do record, it's Wednesday nights and Friday nights. We do it from about 7:30 to 9:30 or 8 to 10. So if you want to email us during those hours or leave a message during those hours and leave us your number, we could call you back while we're recording and get you on the show. Maybe we'll have a little discussion. We'll play our phone call, on speakerphone through the mics, and we could talk about whatever you want.
That is very true.
We can, rip on each other. We'll just have a few laughs.
We did get a message.
We did.
Yeah. I'm not gonna play it because it's not very good, and I mean it just says "suck a bag of dicks." That's all it says. That's it. But it was nice. It was a nice first message to have. I was very excited when I saw it because I announced on Facebook last night these things that we finally have a name, we have a phone number and a thing, and that was our first message. I don't know who it was. I know it's from the lovely town of Middletown, New Jersey, where all the high class heroin addicts are.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we got for our first "suck a bag of dicks" message, and I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked to suck a bag of dicks.
A whole bag of dicks. So I wanted to touch real quick, just because I am the person that I am, and the love that I have for you, Richard, and this podcast is actually having me sit here at 8:12 while I know for a fact that 5 minutes ago the first pitch was cast in what could be the final game of the NLCS.
I think it will be the final
where
game.
My beloved New York Mets sweep the lowly, horrible Chicago Cubs and make their way for the first time in 15 years to the World Series. And I'm very excited about that.
And totally proved Back to the Future 2 wrong.
Oh, God, man. That's what I wanted to talk about as far as
people are going bust with that shit.
Today is October 21st, 2015. The day
the DeLorean went to the future.
The day that I decided that I'm never going to watch Back to the fucking Future again. Because everybody on the face of the planet has ruined that movie now.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking movie. I get it. It's cute. Today's the day that they were supposed to go to, I get that the Cubs were supposed to win the World Series. Guess what? And they're not going to. They're about to get fucking swept. I understand that, but it's just a fucking movie. Between Back to the Future and Star Wars, I can't fucking... And these are both franchises that I enjoy. I don't, I'm not the biggest Star Wars head. I really liked Back to the Future. But the amount... I couldn't go on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram today because the amount of Back to the Future shit. Like, at one point... Here's what I want to know. At what point do you realize that you're... Like, if you're the 4,000th person to make that joke or make that reference, is it worth making? I mean, you know what I mean? If you go on Facebook and you see that everybody on your newsfeed has made some sort of reference today being that Back to the Future thing, do you really think you're adding anything by fucking throwing another one up there? You know what I mean? At some point, you got to be like, all right, I missed it. You know, the amount of shit that was up there.
And you know what? I love, all three Back to the Futures, but Back to the Future 2 really wasn't my fave. I kind of dig the whole, the town going to shit because Biff stole all the wealth with his, Gray's almanac and whatnot. I think that's really cool, how that happens. But at the same time, like, of course, you can't touch one because it's Back to the Future. But shit, I kind of like the Old West one. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't know. I think it kind of fell off there.
Yeah.
The only part of that Old West one I like is at the end where that creepy kid points at his dick.
What?
You've never seen that before?
Nah.
All right. I'll show. I can't show it to you right now, but at the end where he meets back up with Doc, and Doc has a wife and two children.
Yeah.
He's there with Ted Danson's wife and two kids.
Yeah.
Well, the smallest kid is a little fucking creep show, and if you watch carefully enough, there's a thing on YouTube where they actually slow it down. He's standing. While Doc's talking, he's doing this. So what I'm doing is kind of like the come here thing with your hand, where you would like he's
so he's fluffing himself.
He's not touching his dick. He's in front of his dick. He's doing like the like you would do like
the
MJ,
like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, right, like Michael Jackson. So he's saying come here, and then he takes his finger and just points at his dick. And they didn't cut
Good for him.
I know they didn't cut this out of the movie either. Like I guess they didn't catch it, or they whatever it is. It's like the guy with his dick out in Teen Wolf kind of thing. But yeah, if you watch carefully enough.
Wait, what?
You don't what? Do you not know any of these things?
I'm not looking for dicks. I want to know where he takes out his dick.
All
Even
right.
though I did spot the dick on Jaded in Chicago, and when they played Longview, and that guy jumped on stage and masturbated.
Right.
Remember that shit? That was a good dick.
I'm pretty sure you're looking for dicks when you watch
I
movies.
was looking.
And you missed the dick. The dick is people might not know about the kid pointing at his dick in Back to the Future, but the Teen Wolf dick is like common knowledge.
When is the dick?
It's in the final scene with the basketball thing. A guy in the bleachers,
like the win in the end.
Yeah, right. And when everybody gets up and starts cheering, a dude gets up and he has his dick out of his pants. It was one of the
awesome.
extras. It was like his little joke.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, I don't know. Look, Back to the Future 1 is an amazing movie. And I see Back to the Future 2 and 3 as kind of like the second and third Matrixes. Like, all right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I guess Back to the Future 2 is better. I think Back to the Future 3 kind of fell off.
Yeah, and I was just saying that I wasn't really too big into 2. Because I guess 1 is just so good, and
Yeah. Well, either way.
It's a good concept. There's just a lot of holes in it, but whatever.
Either way, it's just a movie, and and the whole today is the day thing it's over with.
Yeah.
It's done. Please let it lie.
Yeah, it'll be over by tomorrow once the Cubs lose. I think people are gonna forget the whole.
Well, it'll be over by tomorrow because Marty will have already been in the future for one day since then. Sudden that are Mets fans.
Yeah, you knew that was gonna happen.
And look, here's what I want to say. I don't mind it. I understand the whole thing. Like, I don't expect people to sit there and be nuts like I am and watch 162 games a year of a team that's horrible, or go to every opening day. And I guess I consider myself what you'd be considered like a diehard fan. And I know a lot of and I'm using these quotes again because I actually hate saying that, but a lot of these, for lack of a better word, diehard fans that I do know, guys, that whatever, they're annoyed that they're what you could call bandwagon hoppers all of a sudden,
Yeah.
And there's one person specifically on Facebook that is he or she, I'm saying that to protect their identity, not because I don't know, was a coworker of mine, and he or she would always, when I would talk about the Mets, always like do the "oh God, sports ball" and like roll their eyes and and stuff like that,
Right.
And now he or she for the past week has been every day posting Mets. I need Mets tickets. Blah 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 blah. And another thing is, I saw on Facebook that a bar that I once went into during the regular season a few years ago when the Mets were sucking, and asked them if I could have one TV, just one television, that was the rest of which was, at this point, probably college football and or even preseason football and just news programs and everything like that.
And so there was no other baseball.
And well, I'm sure they had Yankees games on,
right,
what I mean? And I just asked for one TV. I was like, hey, can I put the Mets game on here? And they said no. They told me no. They didn't let me put the Mets game on so that they could have preseason doesn't mean shit football and the Yankees game on and whatever else was on. And now tonight...
Now every TV is Mets.
Now tonight they are throwing a Mets, come watch the Mets wrap up the NLCS party. Yeah. So things like that. But here's what I want to say.
Pouring orange and blue beer.
Here's what I want to say to all of you people out there that might find yourself in a new position of rooting for the Mets or caring about the Mets because for the first time in a long time they're in this. I just want to say to everybody... welcome. Come on in, baby. The more the merrier. I do not give a shit. The bandwagon is open. The band is playing Meet the Mets, Greet the Mets. Come on in and meet the Mets. In a few years from now, I know you're not going to be there anymore.
No.
I know I'm going to be going back to Citi Field half empty or a quarter empty. I'm going to go back to watching Gio Gonzalez one hit the Mets on fucking in the middle of September when there was literally maybe 300 people in the whole stadium. I'm going to go back to that and you guys aren't going to be there and that's fine. I still love you. Thank you for supporting the Mets and I welcome all comers to this. Even those Yankee fans that I know that all of a sudden are Mets fans, you're welcome as well.
Hey, I'm wearing my Yankee cap today.
Yeah, that's blasphemy. I'm wearing a Mets cap.
I'm sorry. Only because I didn't take a shower.
No, I understand. That's fine.
The hair's a mess. But you know what? The beginning of next season, I know you go like 10, 12 times a year, but next season I want to catch a Mets game with you. You know, not that I really care too much about the Mets, only that I've never been to the new Citi Field.
Oh, Citi Field's amazing.
Yeah, and I really want to experience that. You know what I mean? I haven't been to a Mets game since I was maybe 9, 10 years old at the old Shea. And, you know, I want to experience it. So I definitely want to come to a Nets game next year.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
definitely.
just to experience, you know, the new Citi Field and...
Yeah, you'll dig it, man. Citi Field's amazing, and I mean, a ball game is a ball game. Like I will go to any ball game.
It's fun to be at a ball game.
Yeah, because it's literally a day in the park.
Yeah,
like even if you don't care about what's going on the field, you could still just grab yourself a hot dog or a sausage sandwich, a couple beers if it's a nice
sausage, baby.
Yeah, I know that's my main thing. It's a nice day, and you know, it's a nice day out. You just sit back and relax. What you know, like it's a lot of fun. Tom, our friend Tom, who is actually a diehard Mets fan, and he's texting me with stuff right now. He doesn't know that I'm not watching the game. So.
Oh, what is he letting you know what's going on?
Yeah, he always
tell
does.
him to cut that shit out.
That's all right. He just said... All right, now Bulmer's text. Sorry, we're doing a podcast right now, and I'm looking at text. So, yeah.
Well, you know, those Mets, they're important to you. So.
Yeah. So, Awkward High Five Podcast with Devin and Ritchie. We got the phone number. We're going to have all the social media sites will be up, and our good friend and great artist Mark is working on a logo for us, which hopefully
I'm really excited about that. Too.
Hopefully, we're going to dig. And then at that point, again, this doesn't really mean much because if you're listening to this, it's probably all up already. But we'll have the iTunes rocking. We'll have the website going, all that stuff. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and maybe after all of this is all set and everything, we'll run a 3-legged race again, me and you.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Maybe we'll do some shows like out. Maybe we'll do some road shows where we could visit some places, have some people join us, and have a 3-legged race. See if the old magic's still there.
I was thinking today that, and I know this is like looking far in advance, but the next time that there's like a party going on, like a decent sized party or whatever,
let's throw one up.
Well, we should just set up there and have a third mic and just and just broadcast from like the party.
I would love to do that.
That would be fun, right? And I mean that's the thing with the setup is we could pretty much, as long as there's a Wi-Fi signal, and even not so much that, but as long as there's a Wi-Fi signal, we can broadcast from there.
That's a great idea. I would love to do that.
Do it wherever the hell we want.
We're gonna be coming up with a lot of ideas for this thing where we're gonna have a lot of fun with it because it's already been fun. We just started doing it, and it's just fun because like we said, the whole premise of this podcast was to, for me and Deb to start hanging out again. And, the whole riding a bike thing, man. I think it was easier than riding a bike. It was easier than riding a bike off of a big block at Union Ave and falling straight on your face.
I re-listened to that episode because I've been doing a lot of cleaning up of the audio and everything in prepreparation to finally get these things up. And reliving that was...
It's probably scary, but you know what I mean? With this whole project, you landed that bunny hop, buddy. That never happened. This is a full land, 2 wheels, success.
Yes, I feel like yes, this is retribution for my missed bunny hop destroying my skull.
Even if there's just a few listeners, you know what I mean? Hopefully one day everybody, catches on, and all of our friends would love to take a listen. But even if a few people do, it's fun to share this stuff with other people. I have a really good time talking about it.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the thing is, I don't think me and you have done a lot of creative things together, and things that fall into that territory,
right?
And I think I could say for myself that there's not one of them that I've ever done for money or popularity or anything like that. Like, if those things come, that's cool. Like, if people listen to this and they like it, then awesome. You know what I mean? I'd love to grow a community around this.
Of course.
But I'm really doing this for the most part just to one, start hanging out with you again.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm loving it.
And two, like to like, and we do need to get back to our shits at some point. You know what I mean? Like, because there are things that we do need to discuss. And I think I'm more now. At first, I was kind of, if you listen to those first couple episodes, I was kind of like pushing that fact, like, all right, this is the theme of this podcast, and we're gonna do this and everything like that. And I still have those desires there. I still want to touch on those things and talk about those things. Right. We will. But now I think I've relinquished more to letting that occur naturally.
Because I feel it is.
Then it is like, okay, well, this show, let's talk about this, and this show, let's talk about that, and that kind of thing. So
yeah, and I feel like, whether we're talking about things we've done together throughout life and, why there is such a close connection between us and why we were best friends, I think that comes clear throughout the podcast, no matter what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. But, I also want to talk about, and like maybe if we do build a little bit more of a community, it might be easier. But I think that because of what's going on with me and you, like, you have your thing, you have certain things going on in your life and I have certain things going on in my life that I think that negative things, I guess, you know what I mean? It depends on how you look at it.
Right.
But these are things that other people can relate to. And
those things will come up,
right? But that's the kind of thing is I kind of want this to be a place for people that if maybe
they're going through the same,
if they're going through the same shit, they could, we could
absolutely, absolutely. And being in the time in history where we are in where we live in this world and the state we live in, I'm sure there's plenty of people that can understand with some things that I have to talk about in the near future, and the things that you talk about, I'm sure many, many people can relate to too. So,
well, it's all universal stuff, you know.
Right.
What I mean? Well, okay. So can I just brush on what we're talking about here? Okay.
Yes.
So, I think your main thing. Well, I mean, what's your main thing?
Well, my main thing would be addiction.
Okay, right. So your main thing would be addiction,
drug addiction. Not so much alcohol anymore, but that's considered an addiction as well. But
You've struggled mightily the past half a decade with drug addiction.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that you're still struggling a little bit with drug addiction?
Not so much struggling. I mean, I guess you could call it a constant struggle, because it's always on my mind. But I think, if you want to compare my life today to my life in the early 2010s, I feel like I've improved maybe 60-70%.
Okay, so you're digging yourself out of that hole.
Yeah, I'm digging myself out of that hole, and the point I'm at right now, it's not interfering with my life whatsoever. We do the podcast. I love it. I'll never let drugs interfere with it. I never let drugs interfere with my work. I never let drugs interfere with my relationships. It's just something that I do.
Right.
For myself. Right. And, it's always going to be a struggle, whether I get completely clean, 100%, squeaky. It's always going to be a struggle because, as any addict knows, you wake up thinking about it. You go to bed thinking about it. Whether you're clean or not, whether you've been clean for 2 months or 10 years, it is a struggle for the rest of your life.
Right. And that's the thing, and that's kind of what I want to incorporate into this, because I want this to be a place where you can talk freely about that. You know what I mean?
And I will.
And if you're having problems, or let's say somebody calls in or sends an email and says, hey, like, and I don't think it's going to get to that point right away, but who knows, But if there is anybody out there who is struggling with addiction, and you feel and you would like to talk to somebody who is also struggling with addiction and has struggled with addiction, I want this to be the place that you could do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And on my side of things, I don't struggle with addiction. I don't do drugs. But I mean, besides alcohol and marijuana every once in a while. But you know, I'm in a total what you consider valley of life right now, in the way that I had a job, and I've referenced this before, but you know, I had a job and I was engaged, and I had an apartment, and I was doing the regular life thing, you know, that, you know, on my way to being married and probably buying a house and probably having children and everything, and within, I don't know, 3 months time, all of that fell apart.
Right.
And before I could even blink, I found myself, you know, on the verge of turning 35 years old, staying at my parents' house in the suburbs without my fiance, fired from my job, well, not fired, but you know, let go from my job.
Yeah,
and
you wanted a fresh start.
Yeah, and all those things, and I'm struggling through that right now. You know, like this is great. I look forward to doing this podcast twice a week. It's probably my favorite times of the week. But when that's not going on, you know, I am going through a lot of personal shit.
Of course.
You know,
it's a mental struggle. It's
right. I'm trying to stay positive about it.
Right.
But I am searching for jobs. I mean, I would love, like, for any of my creative pursuits to make anything but a little tiny bit of money, but that's not happening right now. So I am searching for jobs, but I'm not willing to take jobs that I don't like, which therefore is now I'm living off my savings, and I'm still staying at my parents' house when I'm single and I want to be independent. And all these things that I think people go through, and I know people go through, you know what I mean? So I am basically, what I'm saying here to anybody listening to this is that me and you, as long as these mics are open and we're talking through these mics, I'm going to say for myself, and I hope you agree, that we're open books. I am totally 100% willing to talk about any aspect of my life, anything that comes up, be totally completely honest about it. Any high, any crushing low, anything. And I just want anybody who might listen to this, who, you know, might feel a kinship to us, and might want to contribute to the show, to feel free to also to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I want every, you know, me and you are you know, we're outsider dudes in life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and so we've always got along better with the freaks and the well, I don't want to use the word nerd anymore, because that's totally done. People calling themselves nerds now,
Yeah.
like hot chicks call themselves nerds because they watch Star Wars.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean.
Because they wear thick rimmed glasses.
Yeah, right.
And cut short bangs. They're nerds.
Yeah, they're nerds all of a sudden. But you know what I mean when I say that. You know, when it comes to those type of people, the outcasts and everything like that. You know, I just be totally comfortable, because that's who we are. What are you grabbing, a bar?
A granola bar. I'm starving.
Okay, and now here's the time where Richie's going to fucking eat a granola bar on the air.
I'm starving. I'm sorry. But yeah, I have no problem being an open book. You know, most of my friends at this point know about my addiction, and you know, they did shut me out for a while, you know, because, you know, not many of them know how to deal with an addict, and I never blame them for it. You know, I'm sure they didn't know how to deal with it. And, you know, one thing that I pride myself on about the whole addiction thing is, as a person, I mean, maybe on the outside of the way I looked, you know, maybe I'd fall asleep at places where I shouldn't be sleeping. But as a person, it never changed me. I've never robbed anybody. I've never beat anyone for money. I've never even borrowed money from someone to get drugs. If I couldn't get my drugs, that's my own damn fault. But there's people out there that'll rob you, they'll beat you, they'll do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a danger, especially when you get higher up into the type of drugs. Again, we're not talking about weed or even coke, or, you know.
Let me be straight out. This is how it happened.
Well, why don't you swallow a little bit of that granola bar first?
I'm starving. And for you guys that didn't know out there, I'll eat anything.
Yes, Richie will eat anything.
We went to a party once, and people watched me down about 6 burgers with potato salad.
I was telling this story the other day, so let me tell this story real quick while you're eating your granola bar. A friend of ours back in the day, he bought a house. He used to have, you know, whatever it was called. I think he called it Beer Fest. One of these things where hundreds of people would come to his house. He'd have all these games set up. So the thing was you have to make teams of 4, and then you would do like a beer Olympics thing where you'd have to, you know, you've seen it in movies and shit and whatever. Bunch of dopey kids getting drunk all day, but like with a sports theme to it, you know. And everybody there formed teams and were playing and everything like that. And you showed up solo without a team. And instead of trying to drink any beer or playing any games or anything like that, you just sat near the barbecue grill and literally ate 7 hamburgers.
Because I thought it was called Food Fest, and someone said it was Beer Fest. I was like, oh, my bad.
And I remember walking up to you, and most people don't know what you look like, but you're a fairly tiny guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of short, thin-framed fella, and yeah, I remember walking up to you.
I will eat you under the table, baby.
Yeah, you will. I remember walking up to you at one point and being like, Rich, how many hamburgers is that? And you're like, I think this is 7. And then you like open it up and you had, I think it was coleslaw on it.
It was potato salad.
Oh, potato salad. And you're like, I like it because of the potato salad. And you're just shoving this 7 burgers, like big size burgers too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
Yeah. Just a real quick rundown, which a lot of people in this area have been through. I mean, I started on the prescription pills that a lot of people call blues. But, I started on those bad boys. And then, whether it be price or feeling whatever, I moved on to heroin. So I became a bad heroin addict, mixing it with Xanax. And, it turned me into a bit of a slob. But like I said, it never changed my values. I never robbed anybody. I never, I may have sold 1 or 2 things just to get some money up, but I never took it to that level where it made me a complete dirt merchant. If I couldn't get my drugs, I suffered. It was my own damn fault. I never beat anybody for money. I never robbed anybody, but, I did get to that heroin level. And, it's not a place I ever planned on being in my life. It always made me disgusted, but I actually enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, of course, it's an opiate, and I mean, getting high is an enjoyable thing,
Mm-hmm.
So, but and I guess that's noble that you've never like robbed or cheated or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
which you cannot say for about 98% of other drug addicts.
Right, exactly.
I mean, honestly, everybody, and I'm taking you at your word for this. Obviously, there's no proof whether you did or not.
Well, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, and that's why I'm saying I'm willing to take you at your word. Although, to be honest, and I'm not putting this on you, but heroin addicts are probably the least trustworthy people on the face of the planet.
Of course. I've dealt with all types, and none of them were ever actually.
I mean, we had an old member. I'm not even going to say what instrument he played, but an old member of our band that was a heroin addict, and this is way before you started dabbling. And sometimes it was a night, and the weird thing is with most addicts, that I find this with most addicts, is personality wise, he was one of the funniest fucking human beings on the face of the earth. You know what I mean? Like, so fun to hang out with. Oh, always a good time and everything like that. But then that could turn on a dime, and he could just be. I remember one day we were playing a show. I think it was a pretty big show. And he just showed up and got his gear, his amplifier, and his instrument and everything like that, and started walking out instead of practicing. And we were like, "What's going on?" And he's like, I got to sell this. I got to sell this." And he wasn't giving us.
Really?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, and we were like, "What the fuck, dude? We got a show tomorrow night. We're supposed to practice tonight." And he was like giving us a roundabout, answers like, "Well, blah 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 blah." And he fucking went the day before at a show, got his amplifier and his guitar. And fucking sold it for dope. You know what I mean? And it was like, and we were all crushed, we were just like, what the,
That was really tough for us to deal with.
Yeah, that, and so, and that has been my experience with that kind of thing. And to be honest with you, I mean, that is one of the reasons me and you have talked over the years. I remember specifically us a few years ago having a pretty serious conversation over the phone about you getting clean and
right.
me being worried about you and everything.
I've tried a bunch,
and me being worried about you and everything like that. But there was a point in time where I kind of I'm never going to say that I gave up on you, because I didn't, but and this also, granted, was when my life started falling apart. So I was kind of like, man, I can't focus on anything else but this. But I did kind of kind of relinquish to the fact of fuck, I might get a phone call one day that this dude's dead. You know what I mean? And kind of, I'm never going to say that I made peace with that, but it was also one of those things where it was like, all right, I did try, you know what I mean? The only thing that I didn't do was throw any sort of money at it, because I didn't have any money. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
what money can you throw?
I don't know. It's not. Well, like, you know, like the type of thing where you could just like go grab you by the neck and throw you in a private rehab or something like that. You know, like.
Well, I did go to rehab.
I know, but
I don't think is the answer for most people.
Right.
What I've noticed through my experience that the best things that if you're a struggling addict and you just can't, you know, you don't get to your boiling point where you're like, fuck it, I want to change my life and I'm just going to do it, and you white knuckle it. I noticed the most success comes from people who find God.
Right.
And,
That's
you know,
we do have one friend that did that.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who it is, but I'm sure it worked because I noticed that it works for a lot of people. And also the meetings thing, which I don't get how that works, because when I go to meetings, all it is people that are excited to go up to the mic and tell other people how much fucked up shit they've done,
right,
and pat themselves on the back about it.
Right, which is what I've heard about meetings.
That
is
what
like,
it is.
And everybody's doing like the back in my day we did real coke, like that kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Instead of like,
I went to a meeting once, and you know, I pull up into my parking space and I look over and there's a dude shooting heroin in his car, and then he goes into the meeting and tells everybody that he's clean. So it's like, what am I doing this for? I told him to a bunch of liars and drug addicts telling me that they're clean when they're not. So how the hell is this working? You know, so you have to find the peace within yourself. You got to reach your moment of clarity where you realize that this is just crap, and all it's doing is sucking all the creativity out of me. It's sucking away the person that I always was, the person I always loved, and all the great experience that I had when I wasn't on drugs can happen again. You know, so
right.
Really, you just have to reach that point in your mind where you're fed up with the person you became. And hitting rock bottom sometimes always doesn't help. I feel like I have hit rock bottom, and I've taken myself out of rock bottom, and I've done major improvements. But I never felt that was the thing that was going to get me clean. Sometimes I feel like the thing that's going to get me clean is if I have a child.
Well,
it's really,
that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing to touch on, but I always know
because you definitely don't want to bring a child into this world to drug addict parents or parents.
Of course, but I just know that if I ever find out that I will have a child, I will never touch a harmful drug again for the rest of my life.
But and I'm just asking you this,
right.
Isn't that easier said than done, especially when it comes to opiates like heroin and stuff like that? Because there's a physical addiction to that,
right?
So it's not like smoking cigarettes, you know. Like I
think cigarettes are harder than heroin.
Well, okay, well, my just a little background. My only experience that I had that I've ever quit something that I was truly addicted to. There was drugs that I've done when I was younger that I stopped doing, but I can honestly say that I was never addicted to any of those drugs. They were just I just use those casually.
The thing about narcotics is that no matter the quantity that you take, you know, let's use heroin for an example. If you do one bag of heroin every day for months, right, you're going to be a full-blown addict that gets sick and struggles and needs to, you know, scrape up $10 just to get well.
Just to get even, right?
Exactly.
Right. Which I think is pretty common knowledge.
If you do a shitload of heroin that would kill somebody for 3-4 days and just take a day or two off and then do it again, there is no physical withdrawal. You may feel shitty for a day, but that's about it, which is really odd because by you doing just a smidge, but you do it consecutively without a break, you become more addicted to that heroin.
Well, right, because your body becomes you know, and I think that happens to any drug, you know, besides maybe, you know, weed. I mean,
so as long as you take your breaks, you know what I mean, then I don't think...
So wait, are you giving people directions on how to use drugs now?
Well, no, I'm just saying about how addiction takes place. And, you know, if you're wondering how to get clean and, you know, why, you know, if you do such a little amount of drugs, why is it so tough to get clean? It's because of it being more consecutive than it is on how much you take.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people, I do 1 bag, I do 2 bags. How come I'm addicted to this shit? Because you do it every day.
Right.
If you do 100 bags for 2 days of the week, you will not become an addict.
Well, then you'll also probably be dead. So
you'll be dead. But you know what I mean. The more it's not about the quantity. It's about the consecutiveness.
Right. Well, okay, but so I mean, but you're still like you're not clean,
no.
Right? You're right. So so number one, so I don't know if you should really be giving advice about how to get clean.
I just have been through it all, so
okay.
I just know what it takes, and I know, you know, different routes, and I just know what is, you know, a good way to go about things and a bad way to go about things,
right.
And, you know, things that confuse people about drugs and, you know, answers that they look for that they can't find.
Right.
And, that's also another, reason why I'm here. If you want to talk about it, if you got questions, call up. You know what I mean? I've been an addict for 10 years, and there's really not much I haven't been through. So if there's anything you want to talk about, you know what I mean, I'll be totally honest with you, and I'll talk about anything you want to.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad that you're willing to do that, because that is what one of the things that I wanted to accomplish in this podcast is that. And I think maybe, because it's transparent that I'm trying to help you through this. I'm worried about you. You're one of my best friends. I don't want you to be a drug addict on any level. The fact that you're doing better now than you have been is good news, and it's promising. But I still worry about you all the time, and I know the people that your family members and your friends worry about you all the time. And I'm not trying to make this like bring this podcast down or anything.
I understand.
But I'm just I'm talking honestly about it. What was my point? But yeah. So but this is an ongoing thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what I wanted to say about like. I've like I said with the cigarettes, the only thing that I've ever quit was cigarettes, and I was addicted to cigarettes. I smoked at least a pack a day.
Oh, you loved your butts.
On the weekends, I smoked 2 packs a day. You know what I mean? Like if I whatever, anywhere between 1 or 2 packs a day, I fucking smoked cigarettes for 15 years. I smoked cigarettes. And one day, when I was 27 years old, I was just about to turn 28 years old. I just stopped smoking cigarettes.
You just stopped, man.
And I've never
Very
ever,
impressive.
I've never ever smoked one again. Now, but
so what was the thing? What was the the motivation to say, you know what, it's fucking gross, I'm done?
Well, there was no motivation. That's the craziest thing. And this is what I tell people, and I don't like to preach about this because honestly, I don't dislike cigarettes. I cigarettes don't bother. I'm not one of those people. It's like, oh, get that cigarette away from me. You shouldn't be smoking cigarettes. Whatever, my situation was I was at work. I was outside enjoying a cigarette with one of my coworkers, and he was telling me about how he was sick of smoking cigarettes and he wanted to quit smoking cigarettes. And I even said to him, I said, I still enjoy cigarettes, and I do know that I'm not going to be a cigarette smoker for the rest of my life because that's not something I want to do. But however, right now in my late 20s, I'm still young. I enjoy cigarettes, and I'm not even going to try to quit until I know that I want to quit. And then we finished the cigarettes. We went back inside. I went into my office. I was doing some work, and I looked down at my cigarette pack. And for just something just snapped in my head. I looked at my cigarette pack and I said,
"That's excellent."
And I just said, "You know what? I'm never going to smoke one of these again." I think I had like 11 cigarettes left in the pack. I gave them to a girl who smoked the same cigarettes. And do you remember the night after that? So that was a Thursday. Do you remember the night after that? You actually had a big part of this because I'm going to be honest, and I'm not saying this to be like I'm fucking great or anything like that, but I had a surprisingly easy time quitting cigarettes after smoking for 15 years. And one of the only hard times that I had was the night right after I quit. So I quit on a Thursday.
When you played that show with that band?
No. That was way later.
Because I remember you saying we finished the show, and you said something's missing.
Yeah, right.
Like
well, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. No, this was we went to the bar. We went to a bar the next night. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Not yet.
And I was kind of white knuckling in it there because. Not only had I just quit, it's not even been a full 24 hours since I had not smoked. Well, it probably had, but a little over 24 hours since I'd smoked a cigarette. So I'm probably going through whatever physical withdrawals there are. But then now we're actually drinking alcohol, which anybody who smokes cigarettes and drinks knows that
even people that don't smoke cigarettes,
that's fucking peanut butter and jelly time right there. I mean, there's nothing goes better in this world than a beer and a cigarette.
Absolutely.
Just even saying it right now makes me want to start smoking again.
I understand.
And I was kind of freaking out, and I was saying like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And you said to me, and I don't know. I mean, you definitely helped. I don't know if this is the right way to help, and I don't know if I'm giving advice to anybody else out there. I don't know if you should take this or not, but it worked for me. Is you said every time you want to smoke a cigarette, let's just take a shot. And I said, okay. and I think we ended up taking like 10 or 12 shots that night because I don't remember anything. So that's why I'm saying it might not be the best thing in the world. But what I do know is I woke up the next morning and I knew that I hadn't smoked a cigarette. I could tell just from the way my mouth was and I smelt my fingers. I knew that I didn't smoke a cigarette. And then also I realized, which is a little secret that everybody out there who smokes and who's a smoker and a drinker and wants to quit smoking cigarettes should know, and this might help you, is that if you don't smoke cigarettes, your hangovers are 1,000 times better than they are when you do smoke cigarettes.
Absolutely.
I can't explain to you how much better I felt that morning after taking 12 shots of whiskey and drinking God knows how many fucking beers. I woke up like snapped out of bed and was like ready to fucking get on with my day. And I realized that was a part of that was not smoking cigarettes. And then I think at that moment I was like, yeah, I don't fucking need these things. That all these things are doing is killing me. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And then I stopped smoking cigarettes.
That's awesome.
But I mean, people say that smoking cigarettes is so hard to quit. And I've heard people say that it's harder than heroin.
I've heard that too. And
but
it kind of is.
I don't. In my experience, I mean, I can't say that. I can't believe that it would be. I think because it's so well, it's getting less and less now. But at one point, it was so acceptable in society that everybody smoked that. You know, where heroin's kind of more of a behind a closed door kind of thing, you know, unless you're those fucking Chinese dudes laying in beds back in the fucking
the
20s.
opium dens.
But yeah, and so, you know, maybe that's the social aspect of it makes it harder because now all of a sudden your friends are still smoking butts and you want to smoke a butt, but you can't or something like that. But I don't know the scientific facts, but I can almost guarantee you that your body gets more physically dependent on opiates than it does on nicotine
I'm sure
and tar.
The physical dependency. Like, I have a certain addiction about me that really just doesn't revolve around the getting high. It doesn't revolve around the body feeling. Like, and I've told you this a million times, even when it comes to weed, I'm a ritual kind of guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I do drugs, and I kind of enjoy the ritual of it, the setting, buying it, having it in my pocket, setting. Like, if I have drugs in my pocket, I almost will feel high just knowing that I have my little buddies with me.
Yeah, okay.
You know
I get
what I
that.
mean?
I'm
a very, like, as you would put it, as the band has said, I don't want to sound corny, but it's a chemical romance that I have. It really is. You know what I mean? I'm in love with, setting them up, getting my tools ready, taking them, doing them, and then the getting high part is like the bonus to me. But it's almost like, you know, it's like something to do, and I enjoy the process of it. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, if I, you know, without the process, then I wouldn't be addicted, because hell yeah, I'm physically addicted. But that is, it's a main thing to me. It's a big part of it to me, and it sounds strange. But I'm sure there's people that can relate with that, because
I'm sure there's a million people out there that can relate with that.
Right.
I can relate to that. I've never done heroin. But like I can see how that works with even like with weed. You know, like I'm not the world's biggest weed smoker, but I will.
Oh, that's one of the biggest.
I'll enjoy weed sometimes, and I enjoy like the packing of the bowl or the rolling of the joint.
Yeah,
and just like some like I have a joint rolled at home right now that I rolled like 3 weeks ago. I haven't smoked it.
Oh, you didn't smoke that thing yet?
No,
the
flower pot. I haven't smoked it, but I rolled it, and it was like and like just knowing that joint's there all ready to go like makes me happy. You know what I mean? Like I probably won't smoke it until our Halloween party, but yeah, I mean I understand that kind of thing.
Whose Halloween party?
There's a Halloween party. We don't need to talk about this on the air.
Oh, I just wanted to know about it.
No, it's not the awkward high five friggin' Halloween party. Sometimes I almost say awkward handshake. That doesn't sound right. It's awkward high five. Although maybe next year we will throw an awkward high five Halloween party.
I would love to.
We could bring the dead prom dates back.
Yeah.
Into life.
Yeah.
We did with one of the most fun things that I've ever done musically, and I mean we've played in front of thousands of people and traveled around the United States and stuff like that. But one year we decided to throw a Halloween party, and our band at the time dressed up all like dead and everything, and we played the show as a band called the Dead Prom Dates, and there was a whole bunch of people there, and we just covered Halloween songs. It was awesome.
It was so awesome.
I would love to do that again.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
Yeah,
so much fun.
So
and Halloween's always a good time because it's Halloween. It's good spirit.
I don't know what I'm going to be for Halloween this year.
Me too. I had a few ideas rolling through my head. I don't want to share them, and but, you know, I did have some ideas. I didn't even know there was a party, but I had some ideas wrong.
Oh, there's a party.
Yeah.
And you're invited.
Cool. So maybe I'll have to bust my
Maybe that. Oh, never mind. I was going to say maybe that could be the party that we do a show from, But that's not going to work out because if everything goes the way that everybody texting me is telling me that the Mets are going right now, then the Mets will be playing the World Series that night. And I don't know if
on Halloween.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to navigate being part of a party, watching the World Series, and doing a podcast at the same time. So we'll probably just do our regular podcast the day before Halloween.
Yeah, or maybe the day after, so we could say how things went.
Well,
share some stories.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, our first official podcast as the Awkward High Five podcast.
And
is,
I loved it. I loved it. Yep.
Let me give the phone number one more time. I will have it memorized sooner or later, but right now I don't. So it's 607-319-A-High-5. That's 607-319-AHI-5 or 2445 if you just want the numbers. And you could email us at
AHI-5 or AH-15?
AHI-5, so
Okay.
A-High-5.
High-5. Gotcha.
A-High-5. So
Gotcha.
607-319-A-High-5 if you want to call and leave us a message. If we like your message or you're especially nasty or something like that, we will play it on the air.
Absolutely.
And then if you want to email us, awkwardhighfivepodcast@gmail.com. And then sooner or later, probably by even next show, we'll have the Facebook and the Twitter and all those things.
And if you want to talk about something addiction, don't be embarrassed. You don't have to use your name. It's totally anonymous. If you just want to talk about something, I'm always here to guide any, being that I'm still doing drugs, but I'm always here to talk about anything.
Well, I think that's an interesting part of it because you're not coming from you're somebody who still needs help.
Right.
You know what I mean? But also has been through almost a decade of this. So,
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. I don't think it's supposed to be any sort of preaching on any sort of level.
I would never preach.
It's just going to be as just try to make it as open as possible for anybody who wants to talk about it.
Absolutely, and that's how it is.
Right.
So, don't be shy. Don't be afraid. It's just me, RTG.
All right. So we'll see you guys in a few days.
Yep.
Awkward High Five Podcast. Later.
I always knew how to treat you, but now I can see you through this cloud of smoke. With love, with breath, wanna smoke you up. Even though my chest hurts, smoke you up. Get more, bit less, wanna smoke you up. Inhale my best.
Thanks for listening to the Awkward High Five podcast. For more episodes, visit awkwardhighfive.com.